Hi, it's the second St. Louis edition. We're going to be talking about developing healthier behaviors and choosing some activities that work with getting you healthy behaviors. In the summary, your goal in using the depressive automatic thought record, which is something, was a lot of workbook pages, so I'm not including it. You evaluated your negative automatic thoughts and to construct a more realistic and balanced response to the event or situation. In other words, to take off the dark sunglasses. The goal is not to avoid or eliminate distressing situations or thoughts, but instead to equip yourself with tools to respond to them more effectively. Bipolar II disorder will inevitably cause mood shifts, which will result in automatic thoughts becoming more negative at times. However, you can take action by examining your thoughts or noticing the way you talk to yourself and realizing that these thoughts, no matter how powerful their associated emotions, are not necessarily true just because you have thought them. As a reminder, everyone makes cognitive errors, which is why we have names for them, but are more prone to making them given that they have bipolar II. Thus, you need to regularly practice the skill of monitoring and changing your thinking, known as cognitive restructuring, to help you solve your problems or face difficult situations more effectively. Okay, developing healthier behaviors. So far in this chapter, we've discussed the complex interplay between thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, but we have focused primarily on ways that you can detect and modify your negative thinking. Now we turn our focus toward modifying your behaviors to help you with your depression, which is referred to as behavioral activation. Have you ever felt so depressed that the idea of getting out of bed was overwhelming? Have everyday tasks such as loading the dishwasher or taking a shower seemed impossible? When your depression is severe and your energy levels are low, it may feel more manageable to first target behaviors rather than thoughts. Setting small goals, such as getting dressed or walking the dog, can be helpful in activating or improving your mood. So, I watch a lot of Dr. Jordan Peterson, and sometimes to motivate people, he'll say do a small thing. One of his 10 rules for life is cleaning your room. Taking one drawer in your house or your bedroom and straightening one drawer, or something small that you can accomplish one day, and then shoot for another small thing or maybe a slightly bigger thing the next day. So that's kind of what we're going for. So these are tasks that would be like what I'm just saying, and after I read them all and the extra 2 lines for things we could add, I'll talk about them a little. Waking up, showering, cooking, doing dishes, grocery shopping, keeping my planned activities, taking out garbage, taking care of kids, talking on the phone, taking medications, exercising, get out of bed, getting dressed, walking the dog, doing laundry, brush my teeth, opening mail, paying bills, getting to work, responding to message emails, getting to bed on time, calling a friend. So what just struck me now is when I was a principal and I would get in the morning, there'd be like 68 emails every day. Of the 68, there might only be 5 positive ones. And you might say to yourself, I really only want to read the 5 positive ones. But you need to read all 68, and you need to have answers. You can't just trash emails you don't like when you're a principal. And like sometimes I get a lot of what you'd call spam emails, but now if I'm getting too many of them, I stop, unsubscribe. The ones I'm having problems with now that say unsubscribe, go to our site. Well, I don't have time to do two things, so I just keep trashing them. But I like it when it says unsubscribe. You hit it once and it's gone. In somebody else that I watched today, it's good to get out, and like if it's a sunny day, it's good to get out and get a little walk, or just, go outside, and now that it's nice weather, sit in your backyard or something to begin your day. I have never done that. I usually, when I'm not working, I walk. When it's cold, I walk our mall. When it's warm, you can walk outside. I have a trail. And so having watched some of these podcasts with either neuroscientists, psychiatrists, or psychologists, I think if I could incorporate that in my day, like just get out a little bit in the morning sunlight. In terms of planned activities, every day as a teacher, a principal, or, even just a human being, I put about 5 things I want to do the next day. These days, one of them is doing my channel. Usually, it's pretty like my plans pretty much are attainable to do those 5. When I was a principal, I'd do 5 or 10, and then you get to work and things come at you right away, like a discipline situation, or flooding in the cafeteria, or there's things you couldn't have planned and you must address right away. So I would still aim to get 5 out of my 10, plus whatever came up. And then I found that being a principal, instead of staying much later and going home tired and then getting up the next day tired, if I went home, I probably didn't go home right after school, maybe an hour or an hour and a half. And then I thought, I deserve to go home. I did my job. I'm going to be better at doing my next job, like the next day, if I'm rested. The one thing I remember, but I wasn't interim for a whole year, but I remember from the start to the end of the year, I was never absent. And the reason in my head that I wasn't is I thought they can't handle the day without me. But if you have a good administrative assistant, if all your teachers are, good, they can get through a day without you. So, but that was just something I thought. I was like, well, the principal has to be there, every day. But like, if your ship's sailing pretty well, you don't have to be there as captain every single day. But I would still try to be there much of the time, and try only to miss if there was a principal's meeting, a diocesan meeting, whatever, a principal's training, that kind of thing. Okay, so, and exercising, we already know from just about everything we've read, is help with your mental health and mental illnesses. Okay, so how can you tackle activities that seem impossible when you are very depressed? The following steps can help, which I've just started to talk about, and you're going to hear it again from the book. Set small, manageable goals. On a really bad day, your goal might be to simply get out of bed and get dressed. If you have depression, that might be all you can do. And you should pat yourself on the back, because every time you get past that, you're on the way to something better. Once you're addressed, you might find that you have the energy to go do some other tasks, get other tasks accomplished. Set time limits for difficult tasks. For example, if you have a pile of dishes in the sink, it might be overwhelming to think about getting all of them clean. Make a deal with yourself to spend only 5 minutes doing dishes. Similarly, if you have a pile of mail to open and you are dreading this task, commit to working on it for 5-minute intervals and set a timer. So, this is an odd way to do my towels, but it makes it so it can be more fun. Instead of doing a whole basket of towels, I might do 5 bath towels, give it a rest, 5 hand towels, give it a rest, 10 washcloths, and then the basket's already lower, or sometimes I dump the whole basket and go back and maybe 2 times and I finish the whole basket, or if it's a really full basket, like 3 times. But it doesn't mean they don't get done, and just because someone else might take a different approach. So that's one thing I do. You know, a lot of laundry isn't so fun. I never enjoyed ironing when I ironed my husband's uniform, and my sister still irons a lot of things, and I long gave that up. Like, if I have to hang it up wet for it to dry, if I have to get things right out of the dryer, ironing is like, if I have to do it once a year, and that might not even be that many times. Remember that depression hates activity. The more you can push yourself to be active, the less likely it is that you would become or stay depressed. Exercise can have a powerful effect on your mood. Even short bursts of activity can be highly effective. If you are having a really hard day, pushing yourself to get outside for even a 5-minute walk may make you feel better. Choosing your activities. Not all behaviors are equal. Some behaviors or activities can be helpful in giving you a sense of accomplishment, such as paying bills or doing laundry. Other activities or behaviors can be associated with feelings of pleasure or enjoyment, such as meeting friends for dinner or going to the movies. For many people, the best types of activities involve some degree of enjoyment or accomplishment. For example, organizing photos, that's fun. From a vacation might give you both a sense of accomplishment and pleasure. Playing a sport or training for a race might be both fun and productive. Think about how you spend your time when you are depressed. It is not uncommon for people with depression to engage in activities that rate low in both pleasure and accomplishment. Lying in bed or watching hours of television might be such an activity. Okay. This is a chart, and I'm just going to read some of it because it only gives 2 ideas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it has 7 blanks. So we would be thinking up 7 things. I'm not going to do that with you, but maybe if it seems worth doing, you'll do it. Exercise 5.5, identifying pleasurable and productive activities. In the following table, write down a few types of activities you associate with pleasure and a few that you associate with accomplishment or productiveness, and ideally a few that you associate with both. If you're stumped, think about activities that lead to pleasure or productivity when you are feeling well. You may also find it useful to ask a family member or friend to help you brainstorm these types of activities. Your support group. Finally, list some of the activities that you engage in when you are depressed and that are low in both accomplishment or productivity and pleasure. we have included a few examples to get you started. So, having a favorite meal is under pleasurable activities. Productive activities, paying bills. Activities that are both pleasurable and productive, gardening. Activities that are neither pleasurable or productive, lying on my couch. Pleasure activities, getting a manicure. Productive activities, cleaning dishes. Activities that are both pleasurable and productive, taking my kids to the zoo. Activities that are neither pleasurable nor productive, watching TV. So I have read in more than one thing about mental health that a manicure is a pleasurable activity. And I didn't get my nails done till my youngest daughter got married. And then I got my nails done to match her dress. And from then on, I've been doing it. And she's, give me a minute to count. She's been married 11 years. Yes. This year was 11 years. So, maybe getting your hair done. If you do it regularly, or if you've never done it, or, something like that. Organizing a drawer. Like, I organized my t-shirt drawer, and I learned this from Oprah Winfrey. Instead of just piling folded t-shirts up, I roll them around and I put them by rainbow color, from red to black. And I found t-shirts when I did that I hadn't worn in a while. And unless I needed a t-shirt of a certain color, I try to, if I'm wearing a t-shirt for a bed shirt, I try to go through them, through the color spectrum, and start again. So that's, I'll say another thing. Instead of alphabetizing or going by subject, all the books I've read, which are a lot in my house, I colored them out. They go from red to purple. And, they'll be high and low, but the color will be beautiful. And that's the way I did in my classroom. And I had one little girl on a tour that walked in and said, wow, she colors out her books. And I just think it makes such a bigger impression. And the other thing is, I wanted kids to feel free to take, the novels and the books that they could read whenever. If it was 8th grade library, you take it, or you have it as the book to read in your room when there's nothing to do. And then all you have to do is, if it's a red book, put it back in a red book section of a shelf. So it was easier to maintain. Not that hard to mess up if you really try, but easier to maintain. So that's the second out-of-state program. We'll probably be staying in this chapter, a repeat of their version. Roberts, Sylvia, Riley Harrington, all PhDs, keeping a regular schedule. So their SNAP version, sleeping, they say eating. In the other book, nutrition, activities, and people. So they have social interaction as one. They have a scheduled activities chart too. I don't